Okay.
Advanced Ocarina techniques with Stephen Higbee.
All right. Can you hear the ocarina?
We still can't hear it.
Interesting. Okay.
Or at least I can't.
So,
Oh, you can hear it? Maybe it's just me. Okay, maybe it's just
okay.
me.
Okay. Okay. I was getting scared for a moment because I thought I tested everything. Okay. Cool. All right. So yeah, when we're practicing staccato, make sure that your airstream is staying constant the whole time. I'm never stopping my air. The only thing that's stopping my air is my tongue when I'm going tut, tut, tut. Accents, ocarina can't really do that too much because otherwise our pitch is just gonna get super out of control. Slurs, just really, really, really smooth playing. There is no tonguing. Okay. Yeah. Maybe you just have to rejoin Nicholas or something. I'm not sure. Hopefully that can get fixed. Okay. Cool. And if anyone cannot hear, feel free to put it in the chat so we can see if it's my end or someone else's end. All right. So I'm just gonna continue with the panel for now because it seems like everyone can hear me, except for Nicholas. Hopefully you can get that fixed. All right. So multiple tonguing. So double and triple tonguing. So I am asked this a lot because single tonguing you can only really tongue so fast, and I think double and triple tonguing are a very useful skill to have. So for multiple tonguing, we want to go ta, and we also want to use the ka syllable, so like a k syllable. So t and k, ta ka, ta ka, ta ka. And then once you start practicing it and start getting more used to it, you can start just start going a lot more fast, and you'll be able to really play some fast music, such as like La Chiatrina. I can't play that right now. So yeah, that's how I'm able to play stuff that fast. Where do you tongue? Great question. So what I like to do is I like to tongue with like the ta syllable. I like to do it right between that line between your gum and your teeth. So that's where I'm tonguing when I'm doing ta syllables. When I'm doing ka, it's just like when you're saying k. It's just you have to make sure you don't move your tongue much at all. Um, and how do you feel about Lu for articulation? I think Lu is very good if you just want to do very, very light legato playing. Um, so if you're just wanting to be really smooth, it's just enough to get the note to kind of speak, but it's not too much, so it's like not like super interrupting like a really nice legato phrase. Great questions, by the way. All right. And yeah, Jordan does bring up a good point. It's really good, especially for like lower ocarinas, so it doesn't sound too harsh. All right, so basic vibrato. So one thing that I really like doing when I'm, first teaching people how to do vibrato is I like setting the metronome to like 60 beats per minute or something of that sort. And with each click change, you want to change your breath pressure just a slight bit higher and a slight bit lower with the metronome. So if I was to kind of practice it, I don't have a metronome on me right now, but if I was to practice it, you can hear that slight change in pitch. And over time, as you get faster and faster, then you can get, the vibrato that you want. So whether if it's like a slow vibrato or if you want to just go really, really fast, stuff like that. Legato fingers. So this isn't something that I haven't really talked about until recently. I got really obsessed with this ever since my clarinet teacher started having me do it in my clarinet lessons. So pretty much, I'm gonna stop the presentation for a bit so you can kind of just see my camera. If I can get this. No, I do not want to do that. It's not letting me stop my presentation. Oh wait, the presentation wasn't on. Shoot. That makes a lot of sense. Okay. Let me just highlight my screen really quick though. Okay, so you should be able to see me now. So when I'm doing legato fingers, what I want to do is I'm lifting my finger up and then I'm slowly putting it back down. If I was to play with a metronome, so I'm just gonna kind of play a little bit slow. Watch how slow my fingers are moving and how gentle they are when they're going back onto the ocarina. And you can also practice it for larger intervals, such as thirds. Etc., etc. This is really good just to get that nice finger control that a lot of us tend to lack, especially on like our ring fingers and our pinkies because we don't use them as much. Let me share my screen again. Okay, cool. All right, so introduction to alternate fingerings and techniques. Let me find my chat again. Okay, no other questions, so we're good. All right, so alternate fingerings really just help make some things easier to play. So for example, if we're playing D and we want to go to E flat, we're probably not going to go in the right hand 1 2 3 to 1 2 3 4. It's going to be a little bit more on the difficult side. What we're going to want to do is probably just lift one finger because it's a lot easier. So instead of going, we're probably just going to lift up middle finger. It's just we have to cut our breath pressure a little bit because it's a naturally sharp note. But believe it or not, there's way more alternate fingerings than you probably realize. So even for that E flat, we could go 1 2 and 4, 1 and 3, 2 3 and 4 with the subhole, 1 2 with the subhole, or even right hand down, everything of left hand except ring finger. All those are E flats. So we do these different fingerings just to make passages easier. We don't need to have like 5 on lock at all times, but it's nice to kind of know 1 or 2 just to make some passages a little bit easier. And if anyone has anything to say, feel free to put it in the chat. I'll respond to it, or if you have a comment you want to make, feel free to do that. Let's go back to the presentation. So there isn't really necessarily any resources with a lot of alternate fingerings because each ocarina is different. Like alto C ocarinas are gonna have different alternate fingerings than like soprano C ocarinas, et cetera, et cetera. So it's one of those things that's kind of useful to kind of experiment on your own a little bit. You could like look at a tuner and be like, okay, so this fingering is an E flat. It's just a little bit sharp, but it's really useful if I'm playing something, you know, super fast. There we go. Yeah. Another example of one for multi-chambers that I really want to talk about because it's a fingering that I hate a lot is F sharp. So F sharp on multi-chamber on the second chamber is normally 1, 2, and 4. As anyone who plays double chambers know, it's a very, very sharp fingering. Sometimes you can't get away with it, but if you can, for example, if you have a subhole like this one has, 1 and 2 with the subhole, a little bit more in tune. Or if you have a tuning hole at the bottom of your ocarina, I would just press the tuning hole instead of using 4. It's just a lot more in tune. Yeah, all notes have different fingerings. You should definitely experiment when you can because there's a lot of really cool things you can do with it. Screen share again. I need to find an easier way to screen share, not screen share. There we go. Okay, so to add a certain effect. So sometimes we want to add a certain effect, such as we want to play super quiet, or maybe we want to play really loud. One of the things that I really love about Jordan's arrangements is sometimes he'll have the soprano ocarina playing really, really quiet. And the way to do this is to finger a half step higher and just really cut your air. So for example, instead of playing a B with the regular fingering, if you finger a C a half step above and cut your breath, it's really, really quiet. And that can be really cool for ensemble textures. And yes, Jordan loves to make my life as difficult as possible. All right. All right, so subholes. Yeah, we pretty much talked about alternate fingerings makes easier. Some things easier, some things not. All right. Yeah, just experiment with your ocarina. That's all you really can do because every ocarina is different. If you have any questions about alternative fingerings for your ocarina, and you just want to talk a little bit about it, or have suggestions, feel free to let me know. Like message me on Facebook or whatever, and I'll reply to you as soon as I can about that. All right. So playing high notes in acute bend. Um, it's really hard to play high notes on the ocarina. We all experience this, especially when we're beginners and we just don't know how to play it. One thing that we really have to keep in mind is to have really strong breath support. We want to make sure to take nice full breaths through the bottom of your stomach, the abdomen, and use your air correctly. Um, that'll really help with your high notes. Another thing is using the acute bend because it kind of helps with the blowing angle into the ocarina. So even with this microphone, you might be able to hear a difference between and so that's one way to kind of play the high notes a little bit better. Helps a little bit. Advanced vibrato. So vibrato is really useful, especially when playing musical phrases that can be kind of hard to tune, because it can kind of help mask the pitch of the note. Um, you can also kind of change the speed of your vibrato depending on what type of piece you're using. So, for example, if you're playing, a really fast Italian piece, you're probably going to use just like really, really fast vibrato, as opposed to something that's a little bit like slower, like maybe you're playing some like Brahms or something, and just where you want to use a little bit slower vibrato. All right, so glissando. You're sliding through many notes when going from one note to another. So, for example, this is usually done by kind of sliding your fingers slowly off the ocarina, either on or off the ocarina. I'm going to stop screen share so you can see my video for people in the Zoom call. So yeah, that's a glissando. And this can be used to be really expressive. So, for example, if I want to play, I'm just going to pick a random tune like Castle in the Sky. It's really useful to kind of be used as an expressive tool. Screen share again. Boop, boop. There we go. All right. Multiphonics. This one is really cool. Jordan does this really well on his contrabass and stuff like that. I probably can't do it as well as him, but I'm going to try. So what you want to do is you can hum at the same time as you're playing a note on the ocarina. Can I do this on? So I'm probably going to do this on my bass so you can hear it a little bit easier. Let me turn up my microphone slightly. Oh my gosh, it's so hard to get the pitches in your head. You can't hear it on this ocarina, so I'm just going to use this low C. So you can kind of just do random stuff like that. I'm not very good at it because I don't practice it. I don't know if Jordan wants to give a demonstration or not because he's really, really good at it. But yeah. Yeah, you're pretty much what you're trying to do is just trying to hum while keeping a steady airstream with your breath support. It's one of those things that you just got to kind of experiment on your own because it's very hard to kind of get it. But once you get it the first time, it becomes a lot easier. Let me see the chat really quick. Okay, we're good. Shading the holes. So this is another thing that Jordan likes to do in his arrangements to make my life miserable when I'm playing soprano C. Is you can kind of do crescendi and crescendos and diminuendos. Wow, I can't speak. I apologize. But by slightly shading or uncovering a hole, you can kind of do these crescendos. So if I want to go from, for example, and I want to, maybe I want to go a little bit louder or maybe go a little bit softer. I'm just going to start on the B, and I'm going to diminuendo this time. Let me make sure I'm not peaking my microphone. I apologize. Or so instead of having to use post production to do crescendos and decrescendos, you can kind of write it so you can do it in real time in a live performance. This is something Jordan does a couple times in his arrangements, and it's a really cool ensemble effect if you can get it right. All right, next, share screen again. Ocarina techniques. There we go. So harmonies on multi-chamber ocarinas. So if you were to just kind of play, for example, octaves on a triple alto C, it's gonna be out of tune. Doesn't sound really good. But one thing you can do is you can slightly uncover or cover a hole, and that will help raise and lower the pitch. So for example, if I want to play these in tune, I see something in the chat. Yeah, so one thing you can do is you can slightly uncover your thumb hole, or you can, for this, I'd probably slightly cover the B to make the C's in tune. In order to make that in tune, you can see I'm pretty much covering half of that B to make that pitch in tune because of how different the breath pressure is between like a high C and a middle C on a double chamber. So that's how you make out of tune the harmonies, play in tune. So it actually sounds decent and stuff like that. All right. Flutter tonguing. So if you can roll your R's, you're pretty much already one step there. Now what you have to do is just blow air, a lot of air at the same time as your flutter tonguing to get the effect. To flutter tongue, you don't want to touch the tip, but a bit of the top of the tongue to the roof of your mouth, right behind the teeth. And you want to make sure your tongue is relaxed and you're blowing air into the ocarina. Sometimes people cannot do this naturally. So one thing they have to do is they have to kind of growl. And to growl, you're basically using the back of the tongue to imitate the effect of rolling R's. I'm not super good at it. So yeah, that's flutter tonguing. It can be kind of cool to kind of do like a quick emotional effect, or maybe just kind of want to goof around just for fun. Fipple bend, it extends the low range of an ocarina. This is mainly used when playing pendants. So let me get a pendant out really quick. Stop share. So for those who don't know, the fipple is, oh, I need to like stop. Okay, you can see it now. It's that tiny hole in the bottom of the ocarina. If you slightly cover it with like your bottom lip, or if it's on the top, your top lip, you can lower the pitch. This is especially useful for pendants. On alto Cs, it's a little bit too far to put your bottom lip there, but for pendants, oh, I have to really turn this up. Yeah, kind of extends the range of a pendant a little bit more because of how limited the range already is. All right. Share screen. Boop. There we go. All right. Overtone, overblown fingerings. This is probably one of the things I'm like asked about the most. These are generally hit on soprano C and soprano G ocarinas. This increases the range of these ocarinas just by a tiny bit. So for soprano Gs, normally you're not going to go above like a G or an A on a 10 hole. For a 12 hole, you're probably only going to be able to get up to F sharp G. Same thing with soprano Cs. But sometimes soprano Cs can play all the way up to B flat. I'm going to turn my mic down really a lot for this because it's pretty loud. As you can see, it's very loud, it's very high pitched, but it can increase the range of sopranos, and you can do some pretty cool stuff with it. You can't really do this much with any other ocarinas other than soprano Gs and soprano Cs, except for plastic nobles. You can hit a high A, but that's it. You can't hit a G, you can't hit an F sharp, but you can hit a high A for some reason. Um, Makes no sense, but yeah, on soprano G, you can hit on that too. Um, Jordan uses this a lot to just, play a lot higher and make my life miserable. Kind of noticing a trend of just him making my life miserable with it. Um, let's see. Let me give an example of. Yeah, I'm gonna play some Castle in the Sky again on this. It's just gonna be really high pitched. So yeah, there you go. It's really cool if your soprano can do it. Most sopranos can only go up to G, and to play the G on a 12th soprano, you do what we call the the Spider-Man fingering. So it's just your right hand, thumb, 2 and 3. Um, if your ocarina can't play it, chances are you don't really have many overtone fingerings, but definitely kind of experiment with different fingers with your right hand, and you might find one that actually works for you. All right, O-tone technique. So even though alto Cs and alto Gs can't use overblown fingerings, they can use this technique. One player that comes to mind that uses this all the time is Milt. He does this fantastically. And pretty much what you're doing is, oh wait, no, I do not want that. No, stop it. I did not mean to do that. But pretty much what you're doing is you're kind of making a chamber with your hands under the ocarina. So just like how you do like a hand whistle, you're essentially doing that on the bottom of the ocarina to raise the pitch. So I'm gonna play from C to G, and on G I'm gonna do the O-tone technique. Um, it's really, really useful if you want to just get that 1 or 2 notes above. Um, Sorry, I'm not warmed up. I've been playing clarinet for the past 3 hours, so I'm just now getting used to ocarina again. But yeah, it's such a useful technique. Milt does this all the time. You're probably going to be seeing Milt do this a lot when he does his performance. Um, yes. Chris says, I'd be so nervous about dropping it. Yes, I would be too. One useful way to kind of not be so worried about dropping it is what I do when I'm going to the high notes. I will take my right hand and I'll put the tail of the ocarina between the pinky and the ring finger. That way you can kind of have a more, I guess, kind of stable way to play the notes. So when I'm playing a scale, notice around the A and B, I start moving my right hand to go between the tail, the pinky and ring finger. And then go as high as you want. So yeah, that's a very useful technique. Does anyone? Oh wait, there's one more thing I want to add to this. Another thing you can do is kind of like a bird whistle. So what you want to do is you want to combine the O-tone technique and also flutter tonguing, rolling your R's, and you kind of do this bird whistle. If you flip the ocarina upside down, and then get a right angle uncovering that fipple of the ocarina. Wow, I can't get it right now. And you can kind of do kind of cool effects like that. Does anyone have any questions or anything about any techniques before I kind of do anything else? Because I'm sure everyone has lots of questions to talk about. Yeah, no, you definitely should. It's a really cool effect. It's a really cool effect to put in arrangements. Any questions? Any at all? There's a lot I covered in like that span of like 35 minutes. How do you shade holds / dynamics again? Great question. So when I'm doing these dynamics, what you're doing is, so for example, if I'm playing a B and I want to start diminuendoing, start playing a little bit quieter, what I want to do is I want to slightly move this whole, see how like my finger's slightly going off the hole? And then I'm slowly cutting my breath pressure as well. Because you want to cut your breath pressure so the note kind of sounds that same pitch the whole time. And then if I wanted to crescendo, I would start really soft. So I'm going to finger a C, but I'm going to play a B. Yeah, and then you can only do it so much. But if you notice, as I'm moving my finger on, the more my finger goes on the hole, the more I'm blowing to kind of counteract the pitch. So if I was to just slide the finger, I would change pitch, but I don't want that. I just want to play louder. So I would just increase my breath pressure so the pitch stays constant. Does that make sense? And you can do this on any note. So, wow, that was really, really flat. And you can do it probably to like, probably a whole step. Yeah, I didn't know it was possible either until Jordan wrote it in his arrangement and said, good luck. Would you be willing to go into a little more detail on how to do vibrato? Yes. So for vibrato, let's just say we're starting right from scratch. One thing that I would do is I would take a metronome and I would set it to 60 beats per minute. Let me just get a metronome out really quick on my phone. Tuner 60 meter 1. All right. So right now we have a metronome going at 60 beats per minute. And what I'm going to be doing is for each click of this metronome, da, 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 we're going to slightly either raise our breath pressure or lower it. So what I'm going to be doing, so for example, I'm going to play C. For the first click, I'm going to slightly raise my pitch. Then I'm going to slightly lower it back to where C should be in tune. Then I'm going to slightly lower it. And then over time, we'll increase our tempo just more by more. So for example, I'm going to just increase it to 200 just for now. And then let's go like 200. And then I'm probably just going to do like triple time on here. And then over time, you kind of develop that skill so you can kind of change the breath pressure more and more. And then eventually, you're just able to completely control your breath pressure. So that's how I would go about practicing vibrato. You want to make sure you're having that nice air support in like your lower abdomen, just being nice and full of air. And over time, the more and more you practice with it, the better you'll get at it. Is there any other questions? Any at all? Because there's definitely a lot I talked about in a short amount of time. I was kind of rushing the presentation a little bit. Ooh, some soprano high fingerings. Yes. So let me see which ocarinas I have. Got some double soprano G. I've got G, C, C. Okay. So let's start with probably one of the more basic sopranos. Soprano C 12 hole. Um, okay, yeah, you'll be able to see this. So the most probably the most common fingering that soprano G will have, well, the two most common ones are going to be F sharp and G. So for F sharp, for most ocarinas, not all, but especially the ones that are kind of on the longer side and skinnier like this, your fingering for G is going to be right thumb, right middle finger, including the subhole, and right ring finger. So we kind of call this just Spider-Man fingering. And then if your soprano can play the G, it's also gonna be able to play the F sharp. And for F sharp, just lower your pinky down. So the only thing that you're not covering on your right hand is your index finger. And yeah, so most soprano C12 holes, if they're long, they'll have those fingerings. Most of them will not go higher than that, but if they can, your A will just be thumb and middle finger covering the subhole. And if your soprano is lucky enough to have a B flat, it's just thumb. Really, really high pitched. Kind of hurts the ears. Yes, it's where the mic is placed right now. So if I was to play like somewhere else, um, it's really about mic placement. That's a whole nother conversation. Mic placement can definitely change the amount of airiness your ocarina has in a recording. So for example, when I record my ocarina, so I'm gonna unblur my video really quick. There we go. So when I record ocarinas, normally I have it slightly above me, so it kind of gets rid of a little bit of the airiness that happens. But if I wanted to have a little bit more airiness, I would have a little bit more kind of dead center horizontal, or maybe even slightly under the ocarina, and I'll kind of give it a little bit more airiness. So for if I'm playing something that I want just a tiny bit of that texture, gives me a little bit of that airiness that I want, depending on the style of music. Yeah, but if you're like a far distance away from someone playing like those high notes, it's not going to be airy. The air is kind of just going to be kind of close and in your head. Any other questions? That was a great question about the soprano fingerings, by the way. Yeah, the A's are really hard to find. I kind of gave up on finding one with B flat because the only one I was able to find with B flats were 10-hole sopranos. But then I kind of found out, thanks to David, that these Yamaha sopranos, they have high B flats, which is pretty nice to have, just in case I want to play that high ever. But at that point, I might as well just use a sopranino at that point because of how high it is. Any special fingerings for 4 to 6 holes for pendant style round ones? From my experience, I have not been able to find any of them. I've been able to do O-tone technique on like alto Cs and stuff like that, and like I think a soprano G I was able to do O-tone technique for pendants as well. But as for special overblown or overtone fingerings, I don't think I found any for those ocarinas. If Jordan or David are in the chat, if you guys have any experience with overtone fingers and pendants, feel free to put it in the chat. But I don't think, in my experience, I haven't found any pendants that have overblown or overtone technique fingerings. Yeah. All right. Any other questions? Any other questions at all? Or any comments that either Nicholas or Jordan want to make you can unmute your mic and talk if you have anything to say. Okay, yeah. Yeah, Chris, I'd probably direct that question to Shroomy if you ever get in contact with them, because they play pendants more than I do. The only pendant I play is my Oberons. So yeah, I don't think. Yeah, I don't have any on my Oberons. All right. Well, it looks like there isn't any more questions. If you have any questions, now's your chance. We got like probably another like 5 minutes if people want to ask questions. But if not, I'm gonna hand it over to Nicholas.
I'm actually able. I found a way to listen to you, but it's off of my phone. So my phone is listening to your audio, but for some reason I can't hear your audio off of my laptop. I don't know why.
Something weird with your audio preferences? If you have like
No, I
a
can
focus
hear
plugged
everybody
in?
else's audio, but it's just your audio. I don't know why.
Wow,
But
do you have me
everybody else can hear
muted?
it.
Do you have me muted?
No, I don't think so. But this whole panel
uh,
I've had you on my phone, which is crazy.
Gotcha. Um, see, can you demo a high note on the Night by Noble? So personally, I can't demo it because all my plastic ocarinas are being loaned out to other people right now. But I can show you the fingering. So the fingering that you're gonna want to use is right hand, just 1, 2, 3, and 4, no thumb. So it's literally just the top 4 fingers, no thumb at all. And that's how you would get that that high A. For some reason, it doesn't do anything else other than that. All right, so maybe a basic question, but don't you get confused when you change ocarinas when you first play a 12-hole than ones with less holes? Um, at first, yes. Luckily, I've been switching instruments for like the past 12, 13 years because I've been playing a lot of clarinet, saxophone, trumpet, and all that stuff. So I'm kind of used to switching fingerings kind of on the spot. But at first, when I was playing ocarinas, the 6-hole pendant pattern really, really confused me. I was very confused for quite a while just because of how different, how weird that pendant pattern is. One of the things to practice that is just within a practice session, maybe spend 20 minutes on an alto C 12-hole and then switch to something like a 6-hole or 4-hole. And just have those in the same practice session. Over time, you just get more and more used to switching those ocarinas. Yeah, no problem. Yeah, I tend to stay away from pendants too. But I do like having just a really nice, tiny portable pendant where you can just kind of just pull out Wind Waker or something. It's just kind of nice to have one that's like, always around your neck. So I'm normally just carrying this around whenever I'm at like, a convention or something like that. All right, Nicholas. I don't think there's any other questions, at least for now. I'll leave 1 more minute, but I'll be handing the mic back over to you.
Okay, well, I just want to say thank you to you, Steven. I really have enjoyed and appreciated your session. There's, a lot of things that people have learned just from watching you and you being you. And there's really, literally a lot of things I always learn just from seeing you and watching you. So I'm thankful to have the honor of watching this presentation again and also to learn some new stuff. I didn't know about the B flat fingering, and now I'm gonna go see if I can find a Yamaha ocarina or find some other soprano ocarina that I can try to find that fingering for. So that was really cool to learn.
Yeah, those Yamaha sopranos, those 12 holes, they have all the way up to B flat. The only other soprano that I found up to B flat is the Rotter 10 holes, but
Really,
the
the
12
Rotter
holes
10
only go
hole?
up to A.
So
So
not
I
the
have a
12
Rotter
hole.
10 hole, and that goes up to actually a B. It's really, really high pitched.
That's
So
insane. Who
yes,
needs
the long
that?
model 10 hole. I'm not sure about the short model
That's
10 hole because I don't have one of those.
I have the one with the sub holes. Let me see if I can find it. Like, see, I want to see if it's like the same one you're talking about. But oh my gosh, if I could find it, that'd be nice. Okay, hang on. So not this one probably because this one has 12 holes. But you see this guy?
Um, yes, I do.
It's that same version of that one, but with the 10 holes, right?
Chances are you have up to an A on that one, but I don't
Really,
think
that's
you'll have a
cool.
B flat on it. So if you so listen, we'll test it out now. We'll kind of show people how to test it out just right here. So for G, remember the Spider-Man fingering. It's
Okay.
just right
Yep.
hand, thumb, 2 and 3. Pretty solid
Sound
G.
okay?
Yep. Now
Okay.
let's try an A, which is just thumb and then middle finger,
Thumb and middle finger, okay?
including the subhole.
Okay, sub hole as well.
Yeah. It's really yeah. It's right there.
I gotta work on that. That's not good, but I gotta work on it.
I mean, the A's can be really hard to to hit. One of my 12 holes can barely hit it. It's like I have to blow within like 5 cents to hit the A.
Dang, that's
But
crazy.
like Jordan has a 12 hole soprano that just hits it like it's nothing. It's really really good.
Wow. Thanks, Angela. I appreciate the encouragement. I always feel like I'm not getting that. And I don't know if you talked about this or if you have any solution for this, but since I got you here and like we don't almost ever get to video or anything, I wanted to ask you two questions if you have time for them.
Of course, yeah. We have 10
Okay,
minutes, and I'm
so
sure other people
one
could use it
is
too.
about the overhand technique, the O technique, right? So,
Mm.
right? The way that you
Mm.
did it, and I can't exactly like mimic the same way you did it, but when you did it, you put your finger here, and it's almost like the way you turned your wrist on your. I couldn't tell if it was your right hand or your left hand, but you did
Mm.
a slide where you like slid from like a really high note all the way down to the G.
Oh, are you talking about?
That, yeah.
It's a,
How'd you do that?
okay. Yeah. Here, let me spotlight. Oh wait, probably you can't.
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah. So what I'm doing. So the kind of theory behind the O-tone technique is the smaller the chamber is with your hands, the higher the note's gonna be, and
Okay.
the higher it is also really really picky to get those higher notes. So I'm being like really 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 just really close to get the high note. Yeah. Uh, one kind of cheat way to do these high notes is take your left hand and slide it more and more under the ocarina, so like your like tip, your pinky, and ring finger are close to the fipple.
Oh my gosh.
It's gonna feel really weird.
Yeah. I'm
Yeah,
not
keep
getting it
doing it.
yet.
It's gonna feel weird.
Oh, I think this thing is getting in the way. Hang on. Let me see. No, it's
You
not
had an A
happening
for a
yet.
sec. You had an A for a second though.
I did?
Yeah. It's squeaking to the higher.
That's
Yep.
the A, right?
Yep.
That's good. Okay.
Actually, no. That's actually closer to B flat.
Wow.
But yeah, and then I can personally do up to D pretty decently.
That's
And yeah,
insane.
and then you can kind of just slide it back. But yeah,
That's
the kind of cheat way
insane.
to do it is you just make a smaller chamber by slowly moving your left hand tighter to your right hand, and also just a little bit farther, like towards your body.
What note is that? Still G?
B flat, B flat.
Whoa, I've never reached the B flat before.
Yeah, that's.
Okay,
B.
I have no idea how I just did that.
Yeah, but yeah, it's all just experimenting with it, and then eventually you can get really really high. I
That
can't
was
get
cool.
as high and consistent as Milt, but getting
Yeah, me
closer and
either,
closer
but
whenever I
that's
practice
cool.
it.
Wow, I'm gonna have to practice that. Thank you, Steven, for giving me that extra arsenal. That's a blessing right there. Thank you, man. I really appreciate it. Hey, Brad. He's saying hi to us in the comment.
Hey, Brad.
I was gonna
Glad you can
ask you
make it.
one last thing, and this is just, I guess, my final question since nobody else has any questions. I wanted to ask you about this ocarina. Have you ever played on this ocarina, the songbird
Songbird
harmony
Harmony?
triple?
Yeah.
What do you think about it, and
hmm
what kind of like things have you learned or played on it?
Um, Personally, I think it is cool with how the range kind of overlaps. I personally would like more overlap in between the chambers instead of like only like a whole step or a minor third. Um, and also it's a little bit too soft breath for me because I have really large lungs and I have to really blow. So I really like having really heavy ocarinas, which is why I love my triple forte or my custom ordered ICO that I just told them to really put up that breath pressure. So it's just a little bit too soft for me for me to use a lot, but I think it has a really nice delicate tone. I really like experimenting with 3 note harmonies on it. I think it's really cool. You can kind of feel that harmony in your head. You can kind of feel the overtones kind of just rattle to the skull. I haven't really played too much with it other than um, I learned one tune that Jordan did a few years ago. I think on the triple harmony. Um, because Jordan, you played the triple harmony too, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, there's
What
Jordan.
have you? Because I know you've probably messed around with it more than I have. What have you learned with it, and what have you done with it, other than like just experimenting with the harmonies on it?
Yeah. Hold on. Wait. Where's my camera? Oh. Wait. The host says I can't start my
I'm
video.
sorry. Give me
Oh,
a
that's
second.
okay.
There you go. Now
Wow,
you should be able
how
to.
dare you?
Oh, there I am. Okay. So,
Jordan.
hi everybody. So yeah, I have my next to me. So I have it here. I haven't like done a ton of like solo arrangements for it. I did kind of make like a harmony to Castle in the Sky a little bit.
That's what it was, right? Yeah.
Oh yeah. So that's like the main one I've done. But yeah, I definitely experimented with doing some harmonies, and especially like one of the things is getting the harmonies in tune because I can do like you could do like A and E with first and second chamber, but it's not in tune. And so then you have to like shade the holes of the first chamber to get it in tune. I think that was
Whoa.
there. So like being able to like try to work that in while you're playing is one of the big challenges so that you can like do the harmonies but also have it be really in tune. So that's mostly what I've experimented with.
What two notes were you playing?
E and A.
Yeah, perfect fourth.
Oh, so you were kind of shading it to make the E flat, or
Well,
something.
actually, I shade the A and make that a
Okay.
little lower.
Okay.
Yeah, you try that.
Oh, that's in tune. That's never been in tune before. That's cool.
Yeah. There you go.
Oh my gosh, I gotta remember what I did. You can hear it being in tune. You can hear when it melted. Oh my gosh, that's so cool, Jordan. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Hmm?
Wow, thank you. That's awesome. Okay, I'm sorry. I guess I just had questions about that, but that's just me personally because I've been experimenting and practicing with that ocarina a lot more as of late. So I was curious to pick y'all's brains to see what y'all had done with that one. That's amazing. I love that.
Yeah, I've mainly done it for just like experimenting with the chords, and then for one little video game project that I'm working on, I did it as a train whistle, and I created a train whistle with it, which was really cool. So
Really? That's really cool. Well, I've had a lot of fun listening to your session, and like I said, Steven, it's always a privilege to be able to hear you. We're gonna take just like a 1 minute or so break to get Jordan set up super quick for his next session, which is going to be arranging for Ocarina ensembles, which I'm absolutely delighted to listen to. We did have a session, about finding or spotting a good song in terms of how to spot a good song that's good for arranging on an ocarina with Tim earlier, and I know Jordan was here earlier. It almost feels like this is like theory day, like we're just kind of talking a lot about theory and kind of like oral skills and advanced things like that. And I'm really excited to listen to Jordan. But let's give Steven a really big hand for his presentation and for sharing his knowledge with us. We're very thankful, extremely thankful that he had time and space, mental space during his busy day to be able to make this work. So please chat, show a virtual applause for Steven. I'm extremely, extremely thankful that both of these wonderful people were here with us today. Thank you, Steven. Go, guys. I'm looking at you straight at the camera right now. Go subscribe to Steven Higbee. Go. I'm gonna leave a link. Go subscribe to him. He is. You can be his 1,000 subscriber. Like he's about to hit
Am I already
1K.
almost at
Oh
that?
my goodness!
Am I
If you are
almost
not
there?
subscribed to him, like minimize this thing.
Oh yeah, I'm at 8
Go
away.
real quickly. Go subscribe to him. He has a concert. They both have a concert later tonight. Um, I love both of these people, and they're wonderful musicians, amazing musicians, virtuosos in their own right. He's at 992, y'all. It's criminal that he's not at 1K yet. Go subscribe to this man right now. Like this is his link. Go do it. Do it now before you forget.
Thank you
Go
for the shout out,
subscribe. Go,
Nicholas.
go, go. And we'll be right back with Jordan's presentation. Thank you, Steven.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, guys, definitely go subscribe to this man. He's almost about to eat 994, y'all. Just six more, and he's got this. Like, it's gonna be awesome. And I bet you when he hits 1K, he's gonna make a thank you video or something like that. I don't know, maybe. But I'm gonna go ahead and introduce our next wonderful presenter and talk a little bit about him. Like I said, both of these, you guys are in for a treat this afternoon because both of these guys, they are just incredibly amazingly talented. Like, I don't know how else to put it. When I think of incredible ocarina players, when I think of ocarina players that can play and play the heck out of the instrument, I think of Jordan and Steven. And honestly, like when I think about Jordan and what he can do, I don't sometimes comprehend the level of skill that he has. He is amazing. I wish I could do justice and a good intro for him because he does just so much. He's an educator. He is an arranger, a composer, a multi instrumentalist. This man can play probably almost a whole symphony on his own. This man is incredibly talented, and I just always incredibly honored and humbled to be able to introduce him and get him to have a panel with us this year. I'm grateful he was able to fit us in his schedule as well. He is going to be chatting with us today about arranging for ocarina ensembles, whether that be septet or otherwise. And I would love for you guys to help me welcome Jordan Moore.
Hello, everyone. And oh, there we go. I can get my video. All right, hi everyone. So let's get started. I have just a little handout. It's actually similar to something I used a few years ago when I did a similar panel when we were in Seattle. But I just made some adjustments to it. So I think you all should be able to look at that. And I'm not gonna go like over every bit of it. It just has, and here I can share my screen as well. Give me a second. All right, so that is music. Hold on, I gotta figure out the Zoom thing. All right, and then here's the handout. In 1 second. All right, there we go. So yeah, it's the same as the link, but it just talks about different notation softwares, with Tim already touched on. It gives general ranges of ocarinas in an ocarina septet, but they can obviously vary. So it's good to know who you're writing for, which ocarinas you're writing for whatever group it is, whether it's septet, a trio, or even just like a duet, quartet. And then it just has a bunch of basically general tips below that you can look through if you want. But I'm gonna get right into going over two of my arrangements, and then I'm going to do some arranging in real time. So I have a song I've never arranged before, and I'm going to start arranging it and kind of explain my thought process. So I think that'll be pretty fun. So the first arrangement I'm going to go over is one that I haven't actually released yet. I've recorded the audio, but haven't really made all the video. So it's Back in Business from Violet Evergarden. Here is the music. And what I'm going to do is get up the recording, and I'm going to kind of go through part by part and talk about certain techniques or certain ideas I used. One thing that Tim mentioned was, for example, not having ocarinas in unison when they're in the same octave. So I'm going to be giving basically, I definitely agree with that. And I'm going to be giving a lot of general tips as just blanket tips that you should think about when arranging for ocarina ensemble. Yeah, it's my favorite anime too. Number one, my favorite. I love it. All right, so here, I'm trying to figure out how to see my notes. There we go. There are my notes. There's the song. And now I just need the recording. I'm getting there. Okay. So here we go. All right, so let me see. Oh, you know what? Let me know if you can hear this recording. I might need to share again and click audio. But let me know if you can hear this. Starting this.
I can't hear it. Can y'all hear
Okay,
it?
let me try sharing again. I might not have selected share audio. That's probably the issue. Oh, hold on. And... okay, let's try again. Can you hear this?
Yes.
Okay. So let me start at the beginning. And so first thing, it's kind of contradictory to what I was just talking about. But one interesting thing about this is that melody you see up on the upper ocarinas is played by the violins. In the original, it's like a whole violin section. It's an orchestral piece. And so contrary to what I was talking about of not having ocarinas in unison, the that was one reason I wanted to have the two sopranos in unison, which I almost never do. I was like, oh, I really want to sound like a section. And the other reason is because this is it's a very like Irish style of music, and so it really gives off the vibe of like folk music. And so thinking of that, I was like, oh, it's folk music. It doesn't have to sound like perfect and refined necessarily. So it's okay if you kind of have like two ocarinas in unison. You know, it's not going to sound, it would like definitely sound more refined if I just had it be one ocarina, but I really wanted the section sound. And because I didn't feel like it had to be perfectly refined, I put them in unison there. So that's why I kind of doubled there. I also have up in these first four measures, and let me see if I can zoom in a little bit. So we also have this melody. You can see it's in these top two ocarinas. Oop, I can't really hide it down here. I thought I was on my program. It's in the top two ocarinas. It starts to go down to the alto C, and even the alto G joins in over here. So it is a melody that goes through multiple ocarinas, and it's really seamless because it's always doubled. So it always has that kind of overlap. So here's what it sounds like. So you can hear it go down the ocarinas, but it's not super specific when it like goes down to the next ocarina. The other one joins in, and the doubling was a big part of that. Now, the other thing, the only other detail I wanted to talk about here is how did I decide what notes the lower ocarinas would get, those lower 5 ocarinas. So part of it's just listening to the song and trying to figure out how they voice it. And that's basically what voicing is, like how you voice a chord. And so if I make sure my piano is turned on, I think we'll be able to hear this too. Can you hear the piano? Let me know if you heard piano there. Oh, yes. Oh, awesome. So I'll show you a couple different examples. So there's the contrabass ocarina's note. Here's the alto C. And then I kind of need to figure out like, what am I going to do with those 3 ocarinas in between? So one option that's very common is contrabass and bass in octaves. So I would have had those 2 notes, but in order to have it be a bit of a richer sound and sound a little bit deeper, I actually had the bass G play the 5th. And that way, so you can hear the difference. This would be this chord with the octaves, but here it is with that 5th there. It's a very slight difference, but yeah, this note, it just adds a little bit more richness to it because you get that nice 5th in the basses that I like to use sometimes. So it's a very small detail, but it's just something I wanted to touch on. And that's something as you get into arrangements that you can play around with. So that's kind of the beginning. It goes through all this. So next thing I want to talk about, so I'll keep playing it, and then we're going to get to measure 9. In measure 9 here, let me actually play it first. So I'm going to keep playing it, and it's going to start right about measure 5 up here. So we're starting a new part here. This part, the melody was lower. It's in a clarinet part, and it was, pretty low range. So that's why I put it all the way down in the alto G, which isn't super common in ocarina septets, but I wanted to have it down there because then we get some higher stuff coming in. So we got this melody in the alto G. Now, one of the issues though is that you can see, well, like these notes over here, it gets down to the low range. And whenever a melody is in the low range, it has a chance of being covered up by the other parts. So what I did here is that these 2 notes, and this is not in concert pitch, so these notes appear to be C and G, but they would sound as a G and an A because it's a G ocarina. So these are G and an A. What I did was in the kind of background rhythmic part in the bass C, I threw in the exact same notes. That way that G and A would actually be heard, because if I didn't do that, it pretty much just would have been covered up. So let me see if I can start like right at measure 9 and see if you kind of notice like that little detail. So that da-da-dum, ba-da-dum, those notes, ba-da-dum, and the bass C just emphasizes that. So again, it's one of those little details, and that's a lot of what I'm going to point out, is like the little details that, other than just which ocarinas get which parts, like what other details can really make an arrangement even more effective. So that's a little detail. Similar thing here, measure 12. So the melody goes up to the alto C just because it needs to get to the high D here. But at least on my alto C, like the low D and C down here tend to get lost a bit, like they're pretty quiet. So what I did here, I just threw on that low D, but on the alto G ocarina. So it's like one of those little things. Instead of that phrase being like da 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 dum bum ba da dum bum and having it like jump out to the high D, it has that extra support to the low D, so it sounds like da 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 dum bum ba da dum bum. You get like the extra power there. So I'm gonna go back and start right at measure 9, and we can go a little bit further through this part. Or so here's measure 9. Oh, here we are. All right, so other than that, like crazy runs right there, let's talk about one last thing up here. So we get this nice little soprano part. Da-da-da-dum, da-da-dum. It has these little interjections. One question you might see like from looking at it is, okay, so you have in octaves here, soprano G and soprano C. Why does the soprano G drop out? And this is a key thing that you want to remember whenever arranging for an ocarina ensemble, is that you don't really want anything to overlap. So if I have these two separate parts here, these little interjections, and then the melody down here in the alto C ocarina, if I had kept the soprano G down in that lower octave, so the octave below the soprano C, it would have been all here in the same range as the alto C, and it just would have just made things clash. It might not have sounded in tune. So again, one of those little details, I decided to just take out the soprano G there. Didn't matter that much. We still have the soprano C playing this. All right, now there's like a lot of little details, but there's a lot to like get from it. So okay, so we can go a bit further here. I'm gonna jump a little bit to over here in measure 21. So let me show you what it sounds like, if I can find it. Oh, so over here. So there's, pretty normal part. One thing that I was a little stuck on with this part actually is that in the accompaniment, so you can see we have these just straight eighth notes going through. Bum, 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 bum. We have that going on, but in the orchestra, there were accents. Like for sure, there were accents. You could hear them. It was bum, 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 bum. And there was no way to replicate that on ocarina, right? You can't just blow more air because that note's going to come out, way too sharp. So what I decided to do was I pretty much added a part that wasn't there before. I added in the alto G and the alto C on those accented beats. And it kind of just creates the accents because you have more notes and more voices playing there. So instead of going bum, 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 I'm able to create it with this. And here's what it sounds like again. So again, just another strategy for like how you can create those little effects that you can't really do on a singular ocarina when you have a whole ensemble. So we're going on here. Just a little thing here, measure 25. You'll see something that you do almost all the time in ocarina septets, which is the bass G and the contrabass C in octaves. And when they can't be in octaves, so like this is a D, so like the high D for contrabass, this is the low one, so they're in octaves there. I'm explaining because I know a lot of us aren't used to reading like G ocarinas and saying the concert pitch notes, but I'm like really used to that. So there's a B for the bass G ocarina, and there's the exact same B for contrabass. So essentially, a lot of the time you just give them the same part in octaves, and when they can't be in octaves, you just put them in that same octave, and that's a pretty normal thing for ocarina septets. Now, I know a lot of this is specific to septet. When we get to me actually arranging, I'm going to do some septet, but I'm actually going to challenge myself and try to arrange for probably trio as well. So I'll do like the same song, but try to do it for trio because I know that might be more applicable to a lot of people if you don't have a whole set of people or some people to play with. All right, so let's go on to next detail I was going to talk about. Oh, yeah. So let me play measure 33 for you. Let me find it here. Okay, so yeah, it's here at the key change. So here it comes. All right, here it is. So there's a lot going on here. Well, really just a few things. You have the melody in the soprano C. You have the just the accompaniment down in the 3 bass ocarinas. And that's right, Brad. Yeah, glad you could come. So we have the accompaniment there, and then we have counter melody type stuff. So here in the alto C and the alto G, one thing, and I didn't even do this originally, I was just like, hey, let me double this, because soprano C, you're never gonna have trouble hearing it, but if it was just the alto G playing this, it would probably come through. But adding the alto C, it's just even more sound. That bum bum da 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 bum, it makes it sound like even more powerful. There's a French horn part in the original too, so it's like really strong, and so that way it gets the extra power. So that's another example where I actually would double, even though they're in the same octave. It's just because I want something the inner voices to come out while the soprano is like playing its own thing, and it helps it come out a little bit more. All right, and then let's keep going here. Oh yeah, so I do a similar thing kind of towards the end, and then we're getting close to the end here. Let me play measure 49 for you. So this part's tricky because the soprano C, I needed it to be that high. It didn't really, it's like a high, like first violin's doing that in the original. I need it to be that high, but it's really high, and it's not the important part, right? It's just this thing that keeps repeating over and over. Bum, daga-dum, baga-dum, baga-daga-daga-dum. It's not the important part though. The important part is down here, an alto C and an alto G. So they have the melody here. Daga-dum, bum, 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 daga-daga-dum, bum, bum. So there's again just another example of a situation where I did double. And a cool trick I even did is when it got too low for the alto C, I kind of had the bass C add in to this counter melody while also kind of playing its rhythmic part. So the part here in the bass C doesn't make a lot of sense on its own, but it's basically playing this and this almost like at the same time. I was just doing like a little of both as much as I could. So that way I could add more support to that melody. So then we kind of go on to the end, some more doubling here, alto C, alto G, and then end. So I'll just go ahead and play the end of the arrangement so we can hear that. And I'll go back to 49, and I'll go into the next one and talk about just a couple things there too. All right, there's actually here. And there's the arrangement. The last detail is that in the these 3 notes in the penultimate measure, so the bum 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 da 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 dum, before we get into the loud part there, it's a little thing, but I basically just dropped out the alto G and the bass G because those were extremely quiet. It was like the whole orchestra playing, and then you had like pizzicato strings or something in the original, right? You can't make it that dramatic in an ocarina septet, but the least I could do is drop out a couple voices, so I can still have all the notes in the chord, but have it be a little bit quieter because there are less ocarinas playing. So you don't always have to have all 7 ocarinas. That's a big thing to keep in mind. Like I have a part in the middle here, it's only 3, and it creates a big contrast. I can see if I can find that too. All right, so it's coming up. Right, so having situations like that where you really cut down the amount of ocarinas can be just as effective as having all 7 too. So a lot of different details and topics there, but I like to really dive into like those small things I do that can improve an arrangement and make it even more effective for ocarinas. Now I'm going to do one more. I'll keep it a little short because I want to spend a good amount of time actually arranging too, and having you all like ask me some questions while I'm doing that. So the next arrangement I'm going to do is actually for 12 ocarinas. So it's a little different, but this arrangement, in this one I'm going to talk a lot about how I basically created dynamics in this arrangement. And it's not from like doing like extended techniques necessarily, but it's about using the range of the ocarinas. So I'm going to pull up this recording. And so let me zoom in some too many parts. All right, so this is written in kind of 2 choirs, by the way. So you can see at the top we have soprano C, and it goes down to contrabass C ocarina 1. Then we have it like flipped for the second half of ocarina. So contrabass going all the way up to soprano G. So I only have 2 sopranos, 1 soprano C, 1 soprano G. But other than that, I have a lot of like, 2 of the same type of ocarina, so that I can have 12 ocarinas. And this is it's kind of an idea I got from trombone choir arrangements because I used to play in the trombone choir at Eastman, and there were a lot of arrangements, especially if it was like I don't know if anyone's familiar with Gabrielli, but it's a really popular thing for brass players where it's like two separate choirs and sometimes even like in different places. And so sometimes translating that to like a more modern thing, you'd have, the whole ensemble in an arc, and there'd be one choir on this side and one on this side. But the basses were always what met in the middle, right? So it was like the higher parts to the basses, and those always met in the middle. So that's kind of what I modeled this after. So the big thing here is using the range to create dynamics. And what do I mean by that? The very beginning, we have, good 5 ocarinas playing. It kind of goes to mostly 5, but they're all playing pretty low in their range. And that basically makes a piano dynamic. It makes a soft dynamic because the higher you play on an ocarina, the louder it is. So if everybody's in their low range, it'll sound piano, basically. And here's that beginning. Here it comes, I think. Okay. So there's the beginning. Again, the big thing was making it quiet by putting all the ocarinas lower in their range. One thing that sticks out from that is the very beginning. I put this, I put it in the bass G, even though it would fit fine in a bass C ocarina. When it's in the bass G ocarina, that requires the bass G to play higher in its range than like the bass C would be playing it. And because it's so important, I wanted that to be louder. So that's why I put it in an ocarina where it'd be higher in the range, so it would be louder. So there's a little bit of that in here too. Oh, and thank you, Steven. I appreciate it. There's a little of that in here. And let me find an example. All right, so I talk about like having the important parts in a higher range of an ocarina so they do stick out when you want them to. Now let me go to I'm just thinking. Oh, so let me show you like the contrast though. So we get to measure 11 is kind of the height of this musical phrase. It does go higher, like literally, like the melody does go to higher notes, which is a common thing in melodies when you get to the climax of a melody. But I also try to, in general, have all the ocarinas higher in their range so that it sounds louder too. So I'm gonna skip a little. Okay, so right there, so hold on. There's the 3-2 measure. Right. And there's approaching the 4-4. So there's the concept. So lower range equals quieter dynamics, higher range will make it a little bit more, just louder and have more energy to it, which is what I wanted there. Now, let me extract one more thing to this, and I think we can pretty much then go to the actual arranging, where I do it in real time. So, oh yeah, so the climax of this is a whole big thing here, going into measure 46. Actually, one thing a little before that though, here we get this kind of different section from the rest of the song, and there's a little detail that you can use with doubling. At measure 38 here, I have just one ocarina per part. When we get to the part where I wanted it to swell a little bit in terms of the dynamics, because that's what happens when a choir sings this, is that they do a crescendo and a diminuendo, louder and softer. You can't do that again with ocarinas. So the way I combated that was I added in just some doubling. When we get to this measure where I want it to be louder, we have 2 bass Gs actually playing the exact same thing. We have the bass Cs also playing some of the same notes, just so that it gets louder like that. And so again, small detail, it lets you have that crescendo diminuendo a little bit though. So let me find this and I'll play it. Oh good, okay, I'm close. Here it is, so 38. And then here's the doubling. So it's a really subtle thing, but it's pretty much the most I could do with this, to just add a little more parts so that you could have the swell of the melody there. Last thing, again, it's one of those little details. It's using a lower ocarina to support the melody. And here's what I mean by that at measure 46. So let me play it for you. All right. Here's 46. Oh, good question, Matt. So I used the choral set, and that's the one that I looked at the score of while doing this. But yeah, I'm familiar with the wind band one too. I didn't honestly look for it. It's probably not as easy to find for free as the choral one, but that would have been interesting to look at too, for sure. So with this part, we have a whole range, soprano ocarina is really high, the contrabass on that low D there. Here's a little thing though. So the bass G's and the contrabasses here in the middle, they all have the same part except this measure right here. So essentially what they're playing is this. Yeah, there we go. So they're playing this. They're just holding that nice low chord. And they would just keep doing that. So the reason I actually have the bass G go up to this note here, which is concert A, and it's the highest note on my bass G, so it really sticks out, is because I need the melody to be supported. The melody we kind of have here in a few ocarinas, like the alto C here, it's the da da da. But when it drops down to that low A, da, that's one of those situations where it would get lost. What I did was put the bass G on its da da, like on its high version of that note, and so it actually coincides with the melody. So it's ba da da, and then the note goes to the bass G to make it come through a little bit more. So again, it's one of those little details where you can use a lower ocarina to support the melody when the melody goes into a lower range, which I talked about some of the other arrangement too. But here's that part again. All right, so here it is. So maybe hard to hear, but you kind of get there. Last thing I'll show you is the last chord. It's the same concept. They're all playing in their low range so that it sounds quiet. So the song kind of diminuendos from that high point all the way to the end. And then kind of getting to the end here. Everything's pretty much as low as possible. I even added a voice singing like a bass low D, which I can't actually do, but thanks to technology, I just sang an F and put it down to D because I cheated a little bit, but that's okay. So the main concept here, we're using dynamics to make melodies, or using range to make melodies stick out and to create dynamics within an arrangement. And those are things to experiment with when you arrange. All right, so I think I'll go on to the part where I'm going to start an arrangement and just talk about it. And feel free, or actually, I encourage you to ask me questions while I do it, because I don't want to just be like me talking about things the whole time. So the song I chose, and let me see, I think I have the music over here. Where'd it go? Okay. So here's the song I chose. It's Flames Grace, Guiding Light from Octopath Traveler. I've always really liked this one, but I've never arranged it. So I thought, why not? So what I'm gonna do is pull up Finale as well. I kind of already just started a template. Well, I actually have a septet template, but I already kind of started a document, so it wouldn't take too long to do that. So here's my Ocarina septet template, and after I do it for septet, like I said, I think I'll just challenge myself and do trio. So see if I can make an effective arrangement of the beginning of this, but only for a trio. I'm thinking like a soprano and 2 altos, because that'd be like pretty common for people who are more getting started out. Like you might have people with sopranos and altos, but you don't have a bass yet. That's how I was at first. So I'll try that after this. So here's my template. I use Finale, but on the handout you can see like other options. There are free ones like MuseScore has a kind of free version, and NoteFlight too. But yeah, let's just start by listening. And so I'm gonna find the audio. Oh, I think I was just playing it on Spotify. Okay, here it is. I'll pull up the music too. So the things I'm thinking about right now are range, and really just what ocarinas are going to play what. So this melody here, starting on an alto C maybe, but it does start going too high. Maybe I'll give it to the soprano G when it gets up to these notes so that they can be played. There's also this kind of like, it's an electronic sound, but it's kind of playing like eighth notes, where it's like do 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 do, and it's kind of like alternating between the fifths. I'm not sure if I'll be able to really imitate anything like that in ocarina, but it was another thing I was just listening to. So anyway, let's keep going. All right, so here's the third line right here. We have that high note in the violins. How am I going to do that? I'm thinking of. Okay, so new section here. So right off the bat, hearing it change this section, I know that in the first section, I want to leave out some of the lower ocarinas, like contrabass and probably bass G, maybe even more, I'm not sure. But I really want, and it's perfect because it's on a C here. We had a little bit of C major. That contrabass ocarina coming in on as low C is just going to be so nice there at measure 17. So I want to make sure I save the low notes to there, because it is, we later had a higher part, and now this whole part is in a lower range in general, and we just add more low voices. So that's something I'm going to do. I'll keep listening some more, but then I'll get started. Probably soprano doing this. And I always really like this part here. Now that part's just like so simple, but like so beautiful too. But the rest of it's kind of like that with the piano there. So we get the idea. Let me go ahead and start the arrangement. And the first thing I'll do is chunk out the melody. So I'm going back to finale. And here I go. Let me see. Oh yeah, I think we can hear that. Okay, so I have heard this song a lot. Like I said, I haven't arranged it, but I have heard enough that I can probably just start looking at the melody without having to look at the music that much. So I'll just try to do it real quick so we can get into the actual arranging stuff. Let me switch up here to the soprano G. Ooh, what's going on? Sound, why? Oh, there we go. Okay, weird MIDI thing. Okay. I'm in the wrong key. That would be a good first step. All right, so we're gonna change it to E major. I am gonna compose it or arrange it in this key. Definitely like thinking of who's playing. It would certainly be easier if you put it in F major with only one flat, or some other key that's not 4 sharps. You even want to do a part with 5 sharps in there. But for now, I'm gonna start in this key, and we'll think about changing it if I need to for range's sake. There we go. Good, just checking the music. Like I said, I've just heard this so much, like if I heard the song, I could sing along to it. So that's why I was able to just check out the melody like that. So where am I gonna switch from alto C to soprano G? I think I will double them on that note, and then we'll be good to go. All right, so there's our melody. I'll add in, well, yeah, let me throw in the slurs. So here's where I really wanna experiment on ocarina. So let me grab one, because I need to figure out which slurs sound best and sound most natural on ocarina, because it might not be the same as what's written here. So I kind of think I don't want the slur right at first. Now, for some reason, I like it better without the slur from E to B here. So I'm gonna just start the slur a little later. And yeah, I want to tongue the first note of the measure. So I'm just kind of thinking in my head with these slurs, but I think this as well will sound nice. So just to play you a little bit, soprano G, getting like the most natural slurs is not like so important right off the bat, but here's what I'm thinking. So like, I think it keeps it nice and smooth, but it's not all slurred all the time, so it has a little bit of variety there. Also, let me know if the ocarina is like coming through all right. It might be peaking the mic. I'm not sure. It might be kind of loud, but hopefully it's not too bad. All right, but let's start getting all the other parts in here. That's the fun part. So let's really get this arranging going. We have an E. I'm thinking bass C. We'll just keep that E in as our bass part. I like to do melody and then bass generally, and then fill it in from there. So one thing is, right off the bat, I only have one ocarina in between these two. So I might want to change something, or I might just only want to start with 3, depending on what notes I need in these chords. Oh, interesting. I didn't actually hear, it says there's a D sharp in this chord, in the very first chord, which is the major 7th. Oh yeah, it definitely is there. I don't think that's going to work that well in ocarina, so I might leave it out. And here's why. That would sound, oops, where's finale? That would sound like this. I don't know what my audio is doing, but here we go. Well, I'm also really fast. But you heard the clash on the first note, that da-da. Yeah, I just don't think, that doesn't have the right effect on the ocarinas, and you can't make the D sharp quieter. So that's something I think I can just leave out, which makes it nice. I can just have our nice 5th here. Lower its tempo, maybe around here. Good, and then we can keep going from there. All right, so I'm gonna add in, you can see here, so we have 2 notes to choose from. We have an E and a C sharp up here, and the bass clef, and I'll start zooming in a little too. We have this E and C sharp in this chord. The E is the same as the low E. So for me, the choice to make sense is C sharp, so you can really fill in the chord. Then I'll kind of keep going like that, get some more stuff. Possibly add in the alto C now on the chord, since the soprano G takes over the melody. And we'll see how that sounds. I'm not sure what's up with the holding notes thing, but oh my gosh, what's going on? Hold on a second. That's so weird. Okay, let me change my, maybe I just like reset my audio. Okay. So, I mean, yeah, that's definitely working pretty well. I think I'll keep that for now. Oops, and I'm a little slow now. Let me put it like 88. Okay, I'll go there. Also, something I like to do, especially for songs like this, because I think it's gonna sound so much better, is I'm just gonna throw on a little bit of reverb, like I would if I actually recorded it, because I just think it makes it sound so much nicer than the fake ocarinas. It's definitely not necessary at all, but I like to do it. All right, so we got that set up. Let's keep going. So here we get the bass line starting to move. So I'll just go ahead and plug it in, and I'm thinking about what octave I want to put it in, but I'll get back to that. So I'll just keep it going up like it is in that original there. What is up with these notes? Okay. There we go. Okay, wait, let me go back to the music. This will be an easier way to see it. Okay. And then we have 4 more E's. Okay. So this is easy. Now we get to use some copy and paste. I'm gonna go and throw in the E's over here too. Okay. So there's the bass line. I'm gonna throw in a slur here. And I think we're good. So let's fill in the parts in between now. But so far it's been pretty simple. Melody, bass line, and then you fill in what's important in between. So we also start to get more harmony notes. Something I missed was these harmony notes right here. G, sharp, E. I actually think those are pretty important. So let me put that in here. And we'll do that. Okay, let me keep going. The main thing that's tricky is I'm trying to figure out which notes are the most important in these chords. So let me really break down like how I'm doing that. So here we have E's, G sharps, and B's. G sharp already, up here, that's where the melody and the bass start out. So we're just throwing E and B in between. I think we have enough ocarinas for that. All right, so E and B. Good, let me try to go a little faster. Okay, 7th. So here, this is a little advanced, but like, so if this chord is based on A, there are a lot of like interesting notes in here, but if it's based on A, the E doesn't matter that much because it's the fifth. So if I need to leave out any notes in this chord, I'm going to leave out the E because it's a fifth above the A here. That's like a little advanced. It's hard to like tell that if you're not sure about the chords, but I'm going to go ahead and try that out. And I'm actually going to go, let's go higher up. So I'm going to give the B to the alto C here. Oh my gosh. I really don't know what's going on with my audio. Hold on a second. This has like never happened before. Just switch to a different one. Okay. There we go. Also, let me know if you have any questions as I'm doing this. And then, let's see, we got about 15 minutes. I'll just do like a little bit more of this section. I might go on to another section so we get some variety, and then also do some trio stuff. So, next notes. I'm going to plug those in. No, don't do that. Okay. Yeah, I like this kind of rising part. The alto C is gonna go pretty high, but I think it'll sound nice. What I don't want to do, I don't really want to keep on the E while this one's on an F sharp. So instead of leaving this E as a half note, like it is in the original, I'm gonna bring it down to a lower note. So that's just a little too close. I'll bring it down to the C sharp there. D sharp, that should be fine. All right, so let's just go ahead and hear what we have so far. So overall, I think it's going pretty well. Let me skip a little bit now. So I'm actually just going to take out these E's I put here. I want to show us some more variety. So let me go to the section that I mentioned as we were listening, where it gets lower, and I want the contrabass to join in. So I'll just go and start it right after this section. I remember that nice low C. Oof. There we go. All these weird notes happening, but that's okay. I'm working it out. All right, so that is down here. So we have this whole like eighth note thing going on the piano. So what am I gonna do with that? So let me go listen. Yeah, I was hoping it like wasn't correct and I could like adjust it a little bit more, but that's definitely exactly what's going on. Oh, yeah. Hold on, sorry, I'm reading the chat. So same process for Merry-Go-Round of Life. Actually, Merry-Go-Round of Life, No. I found sheet music. I was trying to remember if I did that one by ear with sheet music. Yeah, so I found some music for it, but I think I couldn't find the music for the exact version I wanted to do. So I kind of used music, did a little bit by ear. But yeah, I would say in general, like writing out the melody, the bass line for that one is very simple. I wanted to keep it because it's a waltz. You have the so having the contrabass on those bass notes every measure, like that was definitely gonna stay the same. So I pretty much, I copied the melody wherever it fit, what range I wanted it in, put in the bass, and then a lot of those other inner parts are what I started to work in. So yeah, it was pretty much the same process. So let me write out a little bit of melody. I'm just gonna try to give us like an intro of this part and how it's gonna be different than the other one. Then I'll try to do a little bit for trio. All right. I'm gonna let me drag my music over so I can do it a little faster. Okay. Ooh, those notes are gonna drive me crazy. Okay. Good. Oh, hold on. I messed it up a little. There we go. All right. There's a little bit of melody. Honestly, to save some time because we're getting close to the last 10 minutes, let me just see if I can get like a nice 2 measures. And that'll give us the idea of what I'm going to do with all these eighth notes. Because I like the point of the eighth notes, right? It provides the motion when you have these arpeggiated eighth notes in the bass there. So I definitely don't want to get rid of it. I either need to use eighth notes in some other way to create motion, or I could even try to pretty much have this in there. So I'm going to drag this over here again so I can see it and do both at once. So let me try a version where I'm basically, okay, I think I have the idea. So I'm going to have it be like kind of like a stack that keeps adding more notes. So this is the next note in that, putting it in the bass G. Then we get this. This one's going to have to cover 2 notes, so we can spread it out a little bit more. Tie it over. And then finally, this was the last note in the stack. And then what could do this? Oh, good. Okay, this is perfect for bass G. I'll show you in a second. Let me make this look a little nicer. So I'm gonna do dotted quarter, then just tie to an eighth. And then this one finishes basically the eighth note. So the eighth notes are now divided between these ocarinas. And I'm gonna play it in a second. Let me just add the slurs. So it's basically like, each eighth note is now like, just divided between these ocarinas. And now we can hear what that sounds like. Add little slurs. Okay. And I just need to change a setting so that I can start not at the beginning. Oh, is it already set there? Okay. No, it's not. Here we go. All right. Now I'll be able to start. I'll start a couple measures before, and then we'll go into that section. Yeah, I think that's what I'll keep doing. So you heard it there. Let me just play it one more time. So it's so interesting when you keep all of these eighth notes. And one second, I lost my chat. Okay, there we go. It's so interesting when you keep all these eighth notes because now you have that all that motion that it provides there. So I would keep doing that. Now let me do just a little bit of trio so you can see how that'd be different, and then I'll do some more questions. And let's see, do all the programs like the notation programs. I would say each one works, like it's definitely the same general concept. I know for me as someone who started using Finale like pretty young, when I had to use Noteflight in college for like music theory assignments, it drove me crazy because of just like the slight differences, but it was definitely like usable. Like I could figure it out, but there were certain like differences in the keystrokes and like how you enter notes that confused me. But yeah, I'd say in general they have the same concept. And what I'm not doing right here that people who are really into it do is that they enter notes using the piano. And so you can like hold down the 5 number and press a note on the piano and it creates a quarter note of that note. And then you hold down 4 when you want eighth notes. And you can like type out melodies really quick like that. So that's a thing that you can do. But yeah, in general, how the programs work, I'd say it's all very similar with some slight differences. And then obviously the more expensive ones, so like Finalius, Sibelius, and Dorico, which is a pretty new thing I don't know a lot about, but those ones have the most features. All right, so what I'll do is, let me get another document. And I'm just gonna put on a soprano and 2 altos and do like maybe 4 measures so we don't go over. So I'm just finding my Ocarina septet template and then I'll just delete the ones I don't need. Ocarina. That way it's a little faster. Oh, what is this? Oh, okay, interesting. That's not what I was looking for. Hold on a second. Here's a template. Okay, so I'm gonna real quick, I'm gonna delete everything and then I'm just gonna change the soprano G into an alto C. Let me just get rid of the low ones. All right, and change the name too so it doesn't confuse us. Okay, so here we have a trio. I'll just keep it like that. So I'm gonna do a little copy and paste because that's gonna save time, but let's see how I can make the beginning of this work in a trio setting. So we'll start with the same melody. It's gonna start in an alto because it's too low for soprano. If I tried to start an octave higher, it would go above the range of soprano. So we still gotta start in an alto and gotta put an E major real quick. I'm starting in an alto. Oop, let's make it correct. Ooh, wait. There we go. Okay. So starting that. And then let me get the rest of the melody on. And we can do the same overlap. I actually think that's still gonna work pretty well. And the rest does fit on soprano C, which is nice. What I'm gonna do is have the second alto just start by holding out the E. That's pretty much all we can have is a bass and a melody in these first couple measures. But now we have one inner part to work with. And we need to see what we can do with that. Also, changing the key could be something helpful here to utilize the ranges more effectively. Like if I could have the bass part become lower by changing the key, or have the melody go even higher so that it just opens up more space in the middle. That's the main thing when you're limited in range, is you want to like use as much as you can. So I've got these measures. What I just need to figure out, and this will have to be up here, which is pretty high. I might need to change something about this in terms of the key, but let's stick with this for now. All right. So one thing I know I liked, oh, here it is, was we definitely want this moving line here, but I don't want it to cross over. So here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna take the first 2 notes here, right? The reason I don't want this note is because it's below the E now. It's below the bass note because we don't have a bass ocarina anymore. If I put this here, this ocarina suddenly goes below the bass. It's gonna sound pretty weird. Instead, I can just have it jump back up to this note. And I think that'll still be in the chord. So for example, oh, hold on, way too fast, hold on. All right, let's keep it at tempo. And I would go a little higher. I'm changing the harmonies a little bit, but starting to get there. And this is definitely a challenge for me because I love septet because there's so many options. So limiting the options is honestly like, challenge, but it's kind of fun. So We need to add C sharp, but a higher one. Aha. Okay. Now, real quick, I bet I can get these done in time. So, last couple measures. Actually, we can keep some harmonies here. And let's stop there because that's as far as I want the other one anyway. So let's see what it sounds like. So I think overall is working pretty well. So yeah, I'll keep it there, but that's the general idea. So I did the same thing. I started with the melody, added in the bass line, and then I had to find a way to basically take all the inner parts and find the singular, whatever was most important to make an inner line, which is what I was trying to do here with the inner line. So I'll stop there. Hopefully, like some of what I was talking about helps like just conceptualize how you can start arrangements, and then obviously all the stuff I was talking about before, those are a lot of details that can help you make the arrangements more effective too. So I'm gonna stop sharing my screen. And are there any questions for me? Yeah, no problem, Charlie. Thanks for being here. Yeah, there are no questions. That's fine, but yeah, definitely feel free to ask me anything. If you want anything to be more clear, just anything else about my process.
Well, I just want to say thank you as well, Jordan. There was definitely a lot of amazing information um, here shared, and I always enjoy your sessions. They are very informative and very in depth, which is amazing. As an arranger, I feel like just by watching your process, I just learned so much, you
Oh,
know.
thank you.
And I hope to someday be at the level where I can consider all these wonderful little tricks that you do to make things more efficient and better. One of my favorite things that you shared today, this isn't really a question, but just a little recapitulation. If when you were talking about, ocarinas in their lower register and how when we're, arranging a melody for an ocarina, when it hits one of those lower notes, having it doubled by another ocarina just blew my mind a little bit because I was thinking, why don't I do that? Like just that single note, and it also gives it a really interesting accentuation, and I feel like no matter what style of music you're arranging from, like what your original source material is, if you turn it into a piece for ocarina, you give it a new kind of quirky, kind of like authenticity and originality that only an ocarina can bring to the table. And I feel like it's like little things like that I wish were just more widespread in arrangements rather than just, having it be double, just saying, oh, well, I want to double it to try to, increase the volume or whatever else I think is an arrangement. I think, what parts do I actually want to double? What parts of the ocarina actually need that dynamic pull or of the melody line? And I'm like, I've never asked that question before. Kind of just blew my mind. So definitely really appreciate that. Just personally, I have learned a lot. So thank you, Jordan.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that. And hold on, we did get a couple questions. So, oh yeah, Matt, I really appreciate that. I don't compose original music that much, but I would definitely like to do some more when I have the time for it. But yeah, original Ocarina Septet, that was really fun to do. So I'd love to do that. And yeah, as far as like streaming arranging, I would definitely consider it. I know like Carlos and Say in the Rain Music has done that before. I don't think he does much now because he's doing a lot of his own original stuff, but I remember like I've popped into some of his streams where he's pretty much doing the same thing. It was pretty interesting. So yeah, I'll definitely think about it.
I was thinking the same thing. I was thinking I need to rewatch this session because there's just so much info that like I feel like on the first watch, like on the first listen, I was able to digest like most of it. But just like with a lot of these different sessions, I feel like the second watch around, I just noticed so much more. And I tried, I try not to talk too much during the sessions because I don't like hearing myself talk a whole bunch. Like when I play it back on a video. But I definitely love, like being able to learn and see all these wonderful things. So again, in the chat and the comments, please help me thank Maestro Jordan Moore. I say maestro with a Spanish accent, but if I say it with an English accent, Maestro Jordan Moore. In Spanish,
Thank
we
you.
say, like whenever somebody is at a level that's like really proficient or really virtuosic, we just refer to them as maestro, right? It just means teacher in our, and that's what the word means in Spanish. So when we say Maestro Steven, Maestro Jordan Moore, that's kind of what we mean. So let's give him a huge thank you, and please definitely go right now, everybody. Go support his YouTube channel. He's got a really hefty following on YouTube of 15,000, which is amazing. And also, in addition to that, do not miss his concert tonight. You are going to have your minds blown with how amazing musical and it just overall incredible his performance is going to be. So I just want to make sure that y'all go ahead and go subscribe to him, go support his work. Do you still have I don't remember if your Patreon is still active. Can I shout that out as well?
Yeah, definitely, definitely. I
Okay.
haven't released a YouTube video in a while, but hoping to get back to it soon. So definitely
Yeah,
still have a
definitely.
Patreon. Yeah.
Definitely. Go support him on Patreon if you want to know more about what he does and what his work is like. I know for a while, I think I still do like a couple of things a month with that, but definitely go support him on Patreon. And yeah, I'm really thankful to everybody. I just want to say a really good thank you, and go see their concert tonight for all the performers. It's going to be a really great show. Thank you again, Jordan.
Thank you.
Alrighty, everybody. Well, I just want to say thank you once again for coming today. Um, Goodness. Let me see. Yes. Okay. Hey, hey. Thank you again for coming today too. Um, it was just so much information, and it was so incredible to get to listen to all these amazing sessions. Honestly, I don't know if you can tell in my eyes, but I have not gotten too much sleep this weekend. I'm just working with our team to try to make sure everything's flowing smoothly, and like everything's going well. An update on our Kickstarter. We have not gotten the Kickstarter approval from Kickstarter because it's verifying that I'm a real human. Ha! They don't know. Little do they know I am a real human. But definitely check us out on Kickstarter when that link goes live. It'll likely go live on Monday. Sadly, I wanted it to go live during the festival so you guys could contribute. But it's something of a goal to try to have an in-person festival again, funded by the community. You don't have to give like a whole bunch, but whatever you feel comfortable that you can give would be amazing. We're trying to raise 1,500 so we can get a local venue here in Denton, Texas, to have a in-person festival with everybody, and hopefully at that point you could meet Steven and Jordan. You could say hello to them and be in the same room as them, and that would be really cool. If they're available to come to the festival as well to give a session and to perform, as they are incredibly talented and amazing humans. So definitely, yeah, check that out when it comes out. I want to ask you all to definitely come by at 5:30 for our performers. We are listening tonight to Ocarina Legends. We have up at 5:30 Kate of the Grove. We have Yoko Kawamoto, who's both incredible, amazing people that perform on Ocarina. I love their work and their channels as well. Then you will have Stephen Higbee and Jordan Moore. And the crowd goes wild. That's what's up. Yes. And these guys are they're incredible presenters. You heard them today. And they're even more incredible at performing. It'll be so amazing to be able to hear them. I'm honestly hyped for tonight. I cannot wait. And then after the performance, if that wasn't enough, you're gonna have Milt directly from Japan. Correct me in the chat if I'm wrong, but I think he was the original creator of the overhand technique. So you guys, like, I would absolutely love for y'all to take a look at his performance and see how he utilizes his advanced techniques. He's even going to, he said he might say a couple of tips for us on how to play Ocarina, because he was really high on that poll at Global Ocarina Community, with people wanting him to share. Okay, somebody's saying, not the original creator, but I believe the best. Yeah, he is incredible at it. Whether he's not the creator or not, totally understand that. But he is definitely one of the people that is incredible at it. So I do appreciate that. Thank you for the correction, Steven. Appreciate it. So definitely check out his concert. It's going to be absolutely amazing. And then if that wasn't enough, after that, we have David Eric Ramos. So it's going to be an unforgettable night, just packed with incredible performers. So yeah, you won't want to miss it. point of the game, you won't want to miss it. So I'll be posting all the links on Facebook. And they were also emailed to you earlier today. Via email, so check your email if you want. Make sure it doesn't go to the spam folder. I've been getting a lot of people telling me that they don't have an invite, they don't know where to go. If it's going to the spam folder, just check in with GOC Facebook. Connect with us on Facebook. Connect with us on Facebook. I'll say that again. Connect with us on Facebook. And yes, I'm gonna let you guys go because we definitely do have to get ready for the performance. If you're a performer and you want to sound check, I did a lot of sound checking yesterday. If you didn't get to sound check yesterday, message me and I'd be happy to sound check with you. I'm gonna try to take a really short nap before the concert, and I will see you guys then. Thank you again for being here, you guys. We will see you at 5:30. See you then. Bye-bye.